Welcome to the information session for the program entitled Educating on the Khmer Rouge, Legal History and Practice e-Learning and Training Program. My name is Michael Jung, and I'm a legal officer at the Legal Aid of Cambodia. Today, I will briefly describe our program curriculum and take you on a tour of our e-learning platform. Please note that this information session is being conducted in English. For information about our Khmer sessions, please visit our Facebook page. This program was designed with the overarching goal of building the next generation of public interest lawyers and legal professionals who can preserve the legal history of the Khmer Rouge and the legacy of their extraordinary chambers in the courts of Cambodia, and who can thereby strengthen the rule of law in the country. We developed this program because we believe that an understanding of the country's pursuit of justice for the atrocities of the past can enable law students and young lawyers to better advocate for today's most marginalized members of society and ensure that history does not repeat itself. In partnership with legal experts and the lecturers I will introduce later, we have developed 6 courses, which are available in both English and Khmer. These courses are divided into 2 segments. 4 courses are academic in nature, focusing largely on the ECCC's legal history, its framework, and its application of international criminal and human rights laws. The other 2 courses are skills-based training courses that focus on foundational knowledge of practical skills, such as investigations and preparations for trial, drawing on the ECCC experience. Most of the course substance of these courses was developed from May to September of 2021, though some contain information that was current as of December. Let me give you a quick overview of the course structure and composition before I introduce the courses. So each course contains multiple lessons, and each lesson contains multiple sections. Each lesson is designed to take on average 1 to 1.5 hours to complete, though this will really vary according to the participants' learning style and level of engagement with the materials. Each lesson contains lecture videos and written transcripts, PowerPoint lecture slides, reading and video excerpts, retention practice exercises, and supplemental materials. In addition, each course begins with an exclusive interview video with a Cambodian legal practitioner or expert to set the stage for the course and to share their insights in the field. Course participants can take whichever lesson they're interested in for free, and automated certificates are issued for individuals that complete entire courses. So all of this information is explained in detail in the explanatory notes of the program syllabus, which I will show later on. Here is just a quick overview of the 6 courses. I will get into each course in more detail later, but course 1 focuses on the legal implications of the Khmer Rouge regime. Course 2 dives into the legal framework of the ECCC. Course 3 is the main legal academic course that focuses on international criminal and human rights laws. Course 4 is the first skills-based training course, focusing on investigations and collection of evidence, while course 5 focuses on preparations for trial. And finally, course 6 closes the program with a look into how the ECCC differs from the national courts and what can be learned. Now, for your reference, I will briefly outline the course developers and contributors, and you can find further details in our program syllabus. The course development was led by the Legal Aid of Cambodia, with its experience in providing legal representation for over 1,200 civil parties at the ECCC for nearly a decade, along with its ongoing efforts to educate the communities to enhance their legal literacy and their understanding of the purpose and procedures of the ECCC proceedings. In addition, we worked closely with legal experts, including those from the Global Diligence Alliance and Amrin Law and Consultants Group, who played an important role in laying the foundation of the courses and developing the materials with the lecturers. Across our 21 lessons, we have 26 lecturers who participated in their personal capacities. These lecturers are either currently with or have formerly worked across the various sections of the ECCC, including national and international staff from the Judicial Chamber, prosecution, investigation, defense, and civil parties. As a combination of practitioners and academics, they collectively bring a wealth of firsthand knowledge regarding the ECCC and international law, including from the early stages of the court's establishment. The lecturers have collectively worked on all cases brought before the ECCC, and many also have experience with the International Criminal Court, ad hoc tribunals, and other hybrid courts. In addition, the 6 exclusive interviewees represent the Cambodian judiciary, prosecution, civil society, and the Bar Association. These videos were produced to further motivate law students and young lawyers to advance their studies and research, to improve their understanding of the law, and advance their careers in the field. The course development process also involved contributions from a wide array of stakeholders with varying backgrounds, expertise, and perspectives. We had established an advisory group at the beginning of the process. The entities you see on the slide in front of you play an integral role in Cambodia for the education of international law and clinical legal education, the capacity building of the legal profession, the support for the processes of the ECCC, and the awareness raising, reconciliation, and healing that were necessary as a result of the Khmer Rouge. We also conducted a series of pilot runs with law students over the course development process to ensure that the platform, the course materials, and the course delivery approach are user-friendly and effective for the intended end users. We also worked with e-learning specialists to build our platform using Moodle, in particular with an organization called Iki, who designs devices and platforms that enable digital learning in challenging infrastructure environments. I will now move on to the course descriptions, but I will not go into detail, as you can refer to our syllabus documents available on the platform. Please note that the titles of the lectures mentioned here and in our documents are current as of September 2021. Some of their titles have changed since then, but we've retained the title that was correct at the time of developing the course. So we start course 1 with an exclusive interview with the Deputy Director of the Documentation Center of Cambodia, where she speaks about the important role of evidence and documentation in relation to the pursuit of justice, healing, accountability of the Khmer Rouge, and the ECCC. Then in lesson 1, we provide a quick overview of the Khmer Rouge, which serves as a foundation for the rest of the courses. In lesson 2, we go into the basics of legal processes, including terminology and jurisdiction. In lesson 3, we explain various accountability mechanisms, including international and hybrid courts, so that participants can understand the differences with the ECCC. Then we close the course with a lesson on the formation of the ECCC, explaining what led to the establishment of the ECCC, and also highlighting what the civil society had hoped would result from the court. The lectures consist of lawyers of Global Diligence and Amrin, who worked in the defense team for case 004/2 at the ECCC, and the former chairman of the Cambodian Human Rights Action Committee. Course 2 begins with an exclusive interview with a pioneer in human rights law in Cambodia, where he highlighted the contributions of the civil society in the discussions regarding the ECCC, both before and after its establishment. Lesson 1 provides an overview of the entire structure of the ECCC and its jurisdiction, including its hybrid nature as an internationalized court. Lesson 2 dives into an overview of each case at the ECCC and a case study relating to pretrial detention. Lessons 3 and 4 respectively introduce fair trial rights and the rights of victims in relation to the ECCC, including civil party participation and reparations. The lectures consist of the former Nunchia defense team for case 002/02, including the co-lawyers, the international co-lawyer on the case 003 defense team, the civil party team, including the lead co-lawyers, and a legal consultant of the pretrial chamber. Course 3 is the main legal academic course. It begins with an interview with the civil party co-lawyer at the ECCC. She highlights her experiences representing the victims and survivors of the Khmer Rouge, especially for sexual and gender-based violence under crimes against humanity. Lessons 1, 2, 3 each cover the elements and underlying acts of genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes in relation to the ECCC, especially in light of the jurisdictional limitations, but we also bring in examples from the International Criminal Court and other ad hoc tribunals. The course closes with a look at the modes of liability, including joint criminal enterprise and command responsibility as they apply to the ECCC. The lectures consist of legal consultants in the pre-trial chamber and in the case 004 and 004/2 defense teams. Course 4 is the first skills-based training course where the lecturers bring in their personal insights from their work. It begins with an interview with the National Co-Investigating Judge of the ECCC and the Deputy President of the Supreme Court of Cambodia. He explains the differences in investigations at the ECCC and the domestic system, while stressing the important roles that should be played by both the investigating judges and all parties involved in a case. Lesson 1 then provides an introduction to evidence, including evidence corroboration and source biases. Lesson 2 provides an overview of the fundamentals of investigation, including key principles and how to draft an investigation plan. Lesson 3 focuses on the collection and preservation of documentary evidence, including aspects of the chain of custody and case management. Then Lesson 4 goes into the collection of testimonial evidence, including the peace model and the gender aspects of interviewing victims and witnesses. The lectures consist of the international co-prosecutor at the ECCC, a former investigator and legal consultant in the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges, and a former legal consultant on the case 004/2 defense team. Course 5 is the second skills-based training course, and a large part of the practical tips in the lessons come from the lecturer's own experiences in court. It begins with an interview with the Deputy Prosecutor of the Phnom Penh Municipal Court, who was the former National Deputy Co-Prosecutor of the ECCC. She highlights the importance of the presumption of innocence before and during trial, while identifying some distinctions between the ECCC and national courts. Lesson 1 focuses on the fundamental principles of preparing for trial, with a case study from a defense lawyer's perspective. Lesson 2 introduces how to prepare and deliver opening and closing statements for a trial, with concrete tips on how to advocate for your case, both substantively and physically. Lesson 3 then focuses on questioning witnesses and civil parties during trial, including permissible and impermissible question types, objections, and questioning of vulnerable witnesses. Finally, Lesson 4 takes a look at the unique structure of the appeals process at the ECCC, including the technicalities of the pretrial chamber and Supreme Court chamber. The lectures consist of the national co-lawyer on the case 004 defense team, the international co-lawyer on the Keo Sampan defense team for case 002, which is currently case 002/02, the international deputy co-prosecutor, and the senior assistant international prosecutor. Finally, course 6 begins with an interview with the president of the Bar Association of the Kingdom of Cambodia. He highlights the impact that the ECCC has had on the domestic system and areas that the national courts can learn from the ECCC. There is only one lesson in this course, which serves as a wrap-up to all of the previous courses, focusing on comparing the practices at the ECCC and the national courts, including lessons learned and areas for further improvements. The lecturer is a former legal team leader of the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges at the ECCC. Now, as you can see, our courses have been designed to impart both academic and practical knowledge from various perspectives, and we do hope that it will serve as a helpful and accessible resource for those in Cambodia and abroad. With that, we will now take you on a tour of our platform. We've developed a simple interface so that the platform can be widely accessible to those who might not have technological familiarity with e-learning platforms. So this is the site home, where you're able to download the program syllabus, the lecture and interviewee biographies, and the platform instructions in English and Khmer. I will show you these documents later. You can also see the list of all 6 courses here in both English and Khmer. So when you click on Login on the top right-hand corner of the page, it'll take you to this page where you can create an account. If you do have an account, you can log in and you will be taken to the dashboard. So here you will see the list of enrolled courses and how much of it I've completed so far. This page will be blank if you have not yet enrolled in any courses. So let's see how to enroll in a new course. You return to the site home and you click on the title of the course that you want to enroll in. So I'll try course 2 and you just click on the Enroll Me button. This will take you to the course home, which lists the essential components of the course, including the course syllabus, the exclusive interview video, the course materials folder, each section of each lesson, an evaluation form, and the certificate, which becomes accessible once all of these required components of the course are completed. So this is an example of an exclusive interview video. And basically in these videos, we ask questions to the interviewee and they answer based on their experiences and thoughts. In the course materials folder, you can download the lecture slides, the transcripts of the lecture videos and the interview video, the excerpts in all of the different lessons, and the supplemental materials where it's applicable. So let me take you through a sample section. Each section begins with a lecture video, and the video begins with an introductory video by the lecturer, followed by the recording with the lecture slides. So as mentioned, these slides and the video transcripts are available in the course materials folder. The lessons are also equipped with practice exercises that help course participants to retain the information and to critically reflect on or to apply what they have learned. So what you see here are multiple choice exercises with the first question based on an extract. And for the second question, I'll show you an example of what can happen. So let's try clicking on this answer. This answer choice is incorrect, and explanatory feedback is provided to inform you about why it is incorrect. Then you can try again and see if this is correct, and it is, and it gives you some additional information. So we provide a diverse array of exercises, such as multiple choice, scenario application, fill in the blank, flashcards, writing exercises, and more. So while you're in one section, you can move to the next section by clicking on this button on the bottom. And let's try going to the next section. So again, this section starts with the lecture video. Then here we have embedded reading excerpts that have direct relevance to the section, which in this case is an excerpt from the Annotated Cambodian Code of Criminal Procedure. And then here we have some true or false questions. And let's try this question. False is correct, and it gives you some explanatory feedback. So let me show you just a few other examples. This is a section on reparations, and it is one of the longer sections in the course. Here we have a reading excerpt for certain principles explained in the lecture video. And then we have another reading excerpt taken from the case 002/02 trial judgment of the CCC regarding civil parties. And we indicate that focus should be placed on these paragraphs in order to complete the practice exercise on the next page. So this is an example of a documentation practice exercise where participants are asked to develop a concept note for a reparations project based on the excerpt on the previous page. And then we provide a sample concept notes that can be compared with afterwards. And then we have another reading excerpt that lists the reparations and non-judicial measures provided at the CCC, which builds on what was explained in the lecture video. And finally, this page shows 2 video excerpts, which are sample reparations projects at the CCC. Additional videos are also provided as supplemental materials that can be accessed by the course participants if interested. So let me show you a few other examples of practice exercises and resources that we have produced. So this is a section on the underlying acts of crimes against humanity. And here you will see that the platform has remembered where I left off and will ask if I want to return to the last page that I had accessed in that particular section. So here we show video excerpts of civil parties providing testimonies during hearings at the ECCC. And once participants watch the videos, they're asked questions based on the testimonies that are provided. So let's look at just a few more examples. This is a section on delivering closing statements at trial. And in this practice exercise, we show another video excerpt of a defense lawyer delivering a part of her closing statements at a hearing at the ECCC. This time, we're not focusing on the legal substance of the video, but rather about the delivery, showing a good practice example combined with questions for the participants to answer. Now let's take a look at questioning witnesses during trial. Here is a handout that we've produced with a sample line of questions that the lecturer had actually developed for one of his cases at the ECCC, which is available in English and French. And we have handouts like this in some other lessons as well. The final section I will show you is about the types of questions that can be asked at trial. So in this practice exercise, we show some flashcards with sample questions, and we ask the participants to identify if they are permissible or not. When you click on turn, you will see the correct answer. So these flashcards are shuffled, so a different order will appear every time you access this page. And just so you know, all that I've showed you is also available in Khmer, except for certain reading and video excerpts that are only available in English, which are identified in the syllabus. Finally, I'll briefly show you the core documents before I end the tour. So the program syllabus provides an introduction to the program and an overview of the 6 courses with information about each lesson, section, and lecture. The syllabus also provides information about the course developers and contributors as I presented today. Then we provide an explanatory note at the end to explain how the course materials were developed, the composition of the courses, and the spelling and citations guidelines we've used throughout the courses. The lecture and interview biographies document provides the backgrounds of the 26 lecturers and 6 interviewees divided by course and lesson. The platform instructions document provides explanations about how to use and navigate through the e-learning platform using screenshots, as you can see here. We also provide tips on how to take advantage of the platform's different functionalities. Finally, each of the 6 courses is equipped with the course syllabus. You can see the expected completion time, then a brief description of the exclusive interview, followed by details of each lesson, including the lectures, the learning objectives, types of practice exercises, and a listing of all the associated excerpts of supplemental materials. At the end, we provide the biographies of the lecturers again. So this concludes the tour of the platform, and we hope that you will take advantage of this free and accessible resource. Thank you.